Alright, so we got the second part to chapter 12 this time, and thankfully it's another 19 pages, unlike how we were getting 11 pages or so every other week for chapter 11, right? Because even for 19 pages, there is a lot to talk about, and hopefully the manga stays this consistent for its release schedule, because again, even with these new chapters, I think the pacing has just been really well so far, since it wasn't too long ago that we were introduced to Ryoma and Oreo, but the way we're also still getting these character interactions between different masters and servants, and now with this chapter, getting some more story like what Kanata expects to happen by the end of this Grail War, for example. So a lot of moving parts going on, but still feels very worth the wait, nothing too fast or overwhelming. But before we get into talking about the actual chapter itself, in case you're new here to the channel and want to see more Fate type Redline content like chapter reviews and more, then please subscribe to stay updated. I'm definitely going to be doing more here on the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's just get into this week's chapter. So it's picking right up from when we see Kanata and Tsukumo meeting with Rider here at his office, and I just want to say first, Ryoma was just super weird throughout this entire chapter, right? Like, even when he tells Tsukumo that he probably would have lost to Saber, it's hard for me to believe this is how he really feels. I mean, especially since it was a 2v1 and he acknowledged she was low on strength, but for the moment it does look like they're at least safe here in the office, at least away from where the military can immediately find them. But during this, we actually get a huge reveal when Ryoma says that him and Oreo don't have a master, and I'm gonna touch on this later in the video because this is really huge, since it begs the question, well, what is he doing here? And how can there be two servants but one rider and no master? Again, I'm gonna touch on this later, but before Ryoma could get into any details, we get this scene of Oreo and Tsukumo, and for obvious reasons, I'm sure this was everyone's favorite part of the chapter. So apparently Oreo's saliva has healing properties. She's able to heal Tsukumo's broken fingers, and I guess apparently everywhere else on her body, since it looks like she's covered just about everywhere there was skin. So I guess since this is, you know, the Holy Grail War, we're probably gonna be seeing more of this by Oreo, maybe if Ryoma or Kanata get hurt, and hey, I'm not gonna complain. So after this, Kanata gives his thanks to her for the healing, but it seems like Oreo's still holding a grudge against Saber, still for, you know, starting the fight between them in the last chapter. And then when Tsukumo questions him about how the alliance was made, it looks like he's feeling pretty lousy about it, maybe even believing he made Saber insecure about herself now, if she's assuming that Kanata feels she's not strong enough on her own to protect him and Tsukumo. And while I figured that this was the case, I still want to believe Okita and Nobunaga, Saber and Archer, are pretty much the same, and that they thrive on the battlefield and most likely solve all their problems by fighting. So yeah, I do think she is feeling some shame or insecurity, but just the way she was so persistent to continue her fight against Rider, even asking Kanata to use a command seal on her, because she could have easily just asked Kanata as her master to decide what to do next, right? Like, you know, let him make the choice in the fight. But no, she was clearly ready to take down both Ryoma and Oreo, so I think it's a combination of both. I can totally see Saber watching her back after this and not giving her full trust yet to Rider. So after Kanata decides to check on Saber, she straight up tells him that yeah, she feels pretty pathetic about taking pity from Rider. But then we get to the big part of this chapter, right? Kanata reveals to Saber that he's actually not supposed to be her master. He tells her about him being from the future. He even shows her the book talking about what's supposed to happen and how the Grail War is supposed to end according to what his grandmother wrote. And during all of this, we're showing Ryoma, I guess, standing somewhere outside, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if he's overhearing all of this either. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about Ryoma being super weird this chapter, because since we already know he wasn't ready to let Saber know yet about him and Oreo being both rider and not having a master, I can totally see Ryoma acting shady in the next couple chapters, maybe even towards Tsukumo, if he believes that if she dies, it'll most likely mean Kanata does too. And just in general, Ryoma as a character is kind of sus. I mean, we know his intentions are to fight and eliminate Archer, but if what he meant was true about saving Japan, then I could definitely see him abusing his alliance with Kanata now that he knows he can pretty much predict the future of the Grail War to a certain extent, you know, since the book he has doesn't explain everything that's going to happen. So if it's for the greater good, the safety of Japan and its future, I can totally see Ryoma turning his back on Kanata even if they have the same goal. And I think knowing this, I can see Saber being even more suspicious towards Rider, because it means she's now responsible for protecting both Tsukumo and Kanata. So if they actually follow the events of the book, I wonder how different the Grail War is supposed to play out if they decide to fight with Rider or not. And at the end of the chapter, we just get this amazing double page spread of Japan according to what it's supposed to look like at the end of the Grail War. But considering the damage is just so massive, right, I find it hard to believe that Archer is the one responsible for all this, because it seems like she's really determined to protecting her land, protecting her country. So to cause this much damage to your own nation just feels really out of character for her. I mean, this is why we see her critique the military so hard for allowing the enemy to even attack the homeland. And this is where I get into some of my own theory, because I mean, I think what Ryoma said was true about her possessing the Grail from the previous Grail War, but it still begs the question, why is she fighting in this Grail war then. And since Ryoma doesn't seem entirely trustworthy, on top of just how much damage we saw is going to happen to the country, it feels like Archer is actually trying to save Japan, just in her own way. And if I had to guess, I think this is why Archer is having Kaname, you know, her master, look into the Mystic Code she found that Kanata used to travel back in time, because it could be possible that Archer knows what's going to happen at the end of this Grail War too. And that could explain why she's keeping the Grail from the Third War as a type of insurance in case her plans for saving the country just don't work out. And maybe I'm just looking too deep into it, but again, I really doubt Nobu is the main antagonist here, because even Saber feels just as battle hungry as her. So I think Archer is just coming off as this bloodthirsty warlord because it matches her power in history as a heroic spirit. But if she's actually trying to save Japan by controlling the military and guaranteeing she can possess 2 grails, then I can see why Ryoma is so cautious, even if he also wants to save the country. And I could be wrong about all of this, of course, but I think this will have to depend on how reliable and trustworthy Ryoma is and how he plans on fighting with Tsukumo around. Alright guys, and that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and like I said earlier, make sure you subscribe for more Redline reviews. Hopefully we get another chapter within the next 2 weeks, and maybe even more Nobu or Oreo if we're lucky. And if you liked the video guys, please leave a like, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let me know how you're all feeling about what I said in the comments. Let's talk about it. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching guys. Have a great day.